Welcome to the Breeders' Cup Saturday preview show. We will get you all set for Championship Saturday at Keeneland. Greg Wolf alongside Andy Serling will be joined by four-time Major League All-Star Paul LaDuca and Hall of Fame jockey Gary Stevens in just a moment. This is what we've been waiting for the entire year, and we have some monster matchups and some really intriguing head-to-head matchups in individual races as well.
Oh, I agree. The Breeders' Cup Classic, a horse basically has the winners of every major race run in this country this year, and I don't think you can ask for more than that. And you've got a tremendous matchup in the Distaff that doesn't disappoint. The 3-year-old Swiss Diver going up against the very, very talented 5-year-old Monomoy Girl.
It's one of the matchups everybody's looking forward to. Also, Filly and Mare Sprint. Serengeti Empress, Gamine going head-to-head, not to mention what we have in the Classic lined up. This is the schedule for Saturday's card. It begins with that matchup between Gamine and Serengeti Empress in the Filly and Mare Sprint at 12:02 Eastern Time. Pretty good one to start things off. And let's bring in Paul LaDuca here and talk about how we play these races in this card on Saturday. Paul.
Well, I mean, listen, it's going to be tremendous pools, Wolfie. We know that already. In the first Breeders' Cup race, the Filly and Mare Sprint will start the pick 4 with Speech, Gamine, and Serengeti Empress, what I think is one of the more intriguing races on the card. But the pools are going to be giant. We have $1 pick 6. I think that people need to realize that, not the traditional $2 pick 6 on Breeders' Cup Saturday. But tremendous races, and you can see the guarantees that you're going to get. Now, race 1 starts. You got to get your clock set a little bit early. First post 10:15 Eastern Time. So 7:15 if you're on the Pacific time zone, but you get that guaranteed $500,000 early pick 5 if you're feeling a little froggy. $1 million pick 6, the $2 million late pick 5, and a $2 million late pick 4. And like Andy says, who do you want to get to in the last race, the Classic, or you have to spread?
Well, we'll get to that Classic in just a little bit. Paul, thank you very much. Let's bring in now our Hall of Fame rider, Gary Stevens. Gary, what is it like getting ready to ride on this championship weekend?
Well, it goes from a few sleepless nights back in 1984 when I rode my very first Breeders' Cup, Juvenile's Filly, to going jump ahead a whole bunch of years to riding Beholder. And it goes from sleepless nights to sleeping well and being excited about the most exciting day in the sport of thoroughbred horse racing, or 2 days, I should say. We've got one behind us already, and it was a great day, but tomorrow's going to be even bigger. And that was the thrill of a lifetime, and it never gets old. It continues to be an adrenaline rush, and it's just, I don't know, that's what I did it for so long, why I rode for so long. Never gets old, and I do miss it, guys.
One of the great finishes in stretch duels in the history of the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, there have been some great ones, and that one certainly comes to mind. Among them, Tiz Now and Saki at Belmont Park in 2001, but that was an incredible finish between two extremely popular horses.
Here's a look at the Breeders' Cup Classic field for 2020. Bob Baffert, 3 horses that will line up. They're all on the outside, and of course we got 2 3-year-olds, one of them for Baffert in Authentic. That is the Preakness winner, and Tiz the Law, the New York bred, trying to bounce back and end this 2020 campaign on a high note.
I really like the chances of Tiz the Law in this race. And one of the things I like about his Travers is his 109 Beyer is equal to Tom Day Tott's Beyer in the Stephen Foster. And those are the highest 2 speed figures in this race. And I'm not saying it shows he's necessarily as good as those horses. It shows that he's capable of running that big number if he runs his best race. And I think he's a little underrated off his performance in the Derby, where he was forced to play authentic game a little bit more than he'll have to in this Breeders' Cup Classic.
Here's a look at his Kentucky Derby. So he had the Triple Crown in his pocket. It ended here when nobody wanted the lead. John Velasquez said, "Thank you very much, I'll take it." And the Triple Crown dream ended here for Tiz the Law.
Horses sometimes lose in defeat, and sometimes they gain in defeat. And I don't think that Tiz the Law lost anything in defeat. Authentic gained a great deal. He ran a tremendous race. He came back and ran a bang-up race despite losing the Preakness. But Tiz the Law was forced to go after Authentic earlier than maybe he wants to in what was a pretty quick pace. In this Classic, I think he gets more pace and more work done for him than was done in the Derby, and I think Tiz the Law has a real chance to beat the Olders in this Breeders' Cup Classic.
He's got to deal with that Baffert 3-year-old again, who we know wants to be in front, wants to have the lead. There's also maybe the most reliable star performer in this race, also for Bob Baffert. That is Improbable. Just keeps running big race after big race. Let's bring in Gary Stevens to talk Improbable's chances. And here, of course, Baffert with maximum security as well. But how do you think about Improbable, how he's going to fare on Saturday afternoon?
I think he's going to fare very well. He showed a whole new dimension last time out in the Awesome Again at Santa Anita. There was a fast pace in front of him. No one had ever seen him come from well off of the pace. He not only came from well off the pace, but he had the fastest figure that he's had in his career, and I think he's coming in the right way. He had a magnificent work coming into the Breeders' Cup, worked a mile in 1:38.4. He's on top of his game. I think it's his race to lose, guys.
3 consecutive Grade 1 wins for Improbable. Keep in mind, when he did beat Tom Zayton in the Whitney, that was a throwout race for Tom Zayton. He did not get out of the gate well at all in that race.
I don't disagree, and Tom Zayton has a victory over Improbable this year. Improbable's only defeat, but I don't think Improbable lost any defeat in that race. It was first race of the year. He drew post 14. He chased the pace wide the entire race. The pace fell apart. Improbable did not. I thought he ran a winning race. He just got beaten by Tom Zayton, but they meet again, and Improbable, Tiz the Law, and I think Swiss Skydiver are the 3 biggest favorites for Horse of the Year at this point.
Well, Paul LaDuca, let's talk about this 7-year-old right now who Al Stahl has done a tremendous job bringing along, and he's going to come in certainly fresh to the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Yeah, and I think Al Stahl is very, very confident as well. I'm going to touch on Andy. What Andy said, I think he's completely right. I would say Improbable ran the better race than Tom did in the Oakland Mile. It was absolutely unbelievable. But now when you get to the Whitney, a lot of people forget that Improbable was fractious in the gate, and then this happened to Tom Zayton, and now he's put behind the 8 ball. And Improbable, I think, after the Oakland Mile, what Andy was talking about, I think he really turned the corner. And then he really was kind of the horse that didn't like kickback. I think he's gotten past that. He was able to circle fields. But when you look at the start of this race and you see Improbable just sitting in that perfect spot, and now you look and you're telling yourself, holy cow, Tom Zayton has a shot to maybe win this race from right here. And obviously he flattened out late because of the break. We have not seen him since. Al Stahl has been very, very confident with his works. He's a 7-year-old. He's been through a lot of different injuries, a lot of hiccups, but he seems like he's going in the right direction. And a lot of people forget he was the favorite over Improbable the 2 times they faced each other.
Yeah, he was an even money favorite. He was the leader of the handicap division going into that Whitney, and he lost all chance at the start. 3-month layoff, though, coming into Saturday.
I don't love that. He's a 7-year-old that's had a share of issues, and perhaps that's caught up to him, but he's coming into this race fresh, and perhaps he'll run his race, and he certainly has an effort, as he showed in the Foster, that can win it. I don't know exactly what to do with that break, but I think Paul also touched on something else that's important. Improbable has had some gate issues in the past, and there's always that concern with him that he acts up in the gate and he doesn't break. And even though Tom Zayton stumbled in the Whitney, that was a freak thing. Improbable could always act up in the gate, and if that happens to Breeders' Cup Classic, that will definitely compromise his chances.
And it happened in that win, as Paul mentioned. We just showed you in the Whitney. He acted up right, though, settled down at just the right moment when the gates opened. We'll see if it's an issue or not in the Classic. We're going to talk what happened on Friday's 2-year-old Stars of Tomorrow program. In the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, Jackie's Warrior putting his perfect record on the line for a Hall of Famer, Steve Asmussen. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
A reputation of excellence isn't built overnight. Day by day, year by year, decade after decade. For over 100 years, Claiborne's commitment to quality has led to unrivaled success. 10 Kentucky Derby winners, 6 Triple Crown winners, 17 Horses of the Year, 23 Hall of Famers, and over 300 champions. Building on the past, building for the future. Claiborne Farm. The tradition continues.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and NYRA Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With NYRA Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the NYRA Bets app or visit nyrabets.com.
We're back on the Breeders' Cup Saturday preview show. You play all the action from Breeders' Cup Championship Saturday with NYRA Bets. Get a $25 free bet plus up to a $200 deposit match for new members with the promo code CUP25. Go to nyrabets.com or download the NYRA Bets app to take advantage. Greg Wolf, Andy Serling, Gary Stevens, Paul Laduca with you, getting you all set for Championship Saturday. Going to take a look back to what happened on the Friday program in the Juvenile Fillies. Princess Noor for Bob Baffert, putting that perfect record on the line with those 3 victories by a combined 15 1/4 lengths.
I think we'll have to go back a long, long way in Breeders' Cup history to find a worse favorite than Princess Noor. The 5th or 6th fastest horse in the race was somehow favorite, and she ran to her figs, not to the eye test. But it was Vequist getting revenge. And a couple of horses that we saw run in Saratoga finishing 1-2 in this race, and they reversed the order in the Frizette. A great ride by Joel Rosario, sitting close, getting that rail position and coming up and getting the victory. A well-deserved victory by a very, very talented horse, and now a dual Grade 1 winner.
Yeah, back in the Frizette, it was day out of the office, and Vequist won 2 and able to turn the tables. Meanwhile, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, even in defeat, as you were telling me off air, big effort from Jackie's Warrior, but in the end, Brad Cox and Essential Quality with a win.
Great day for Brad Cox with 2 wins, a decisive winner in the Juvenile Fillies Turf. With his very fast filly, Aunt Pearl. Now a perfect trip and a great setup, a wicked fast pace got it done, but Essential Quality gets 2 wins in Grade 1s, repeating his victory at Keeneland. But don't get down on Jackie's Warrior as a racehorse. Maybe he's going to top out at a mile and ultimately not be a Triple Crown prospect, but he is uber talented, and to even finish 4th given that pace, Greg, that was incredible.
Star performance of the day, I think you have to give it to Golden Pal. That horse broke like a rocket from outside post 13. Actually reared up in the race because something spooked him, I believe. Let the whole field catch up to him and then still ran off anyway.
It was very, very strange what happened to him, but he is a super talented horse. But it was a nice day of racing and some good results and a lot more to look forward to on Saturday.
Maybe the matchup head-to-head that everyone is most looking forward to. It comes in the Distaff. Andy alluded to it at the top of the show. The champion, Monomoy Girl, who was undefeated in her comeback after a 1.5-year layoff, tackling the 3-year-old filly superstar Swiss Skydiver who beat the boys in the Classic in the Preakness.
Yeah, I mean, the Classic's all about the boys, but I think there's 2 matchups with the girls in the sprint as well as this race. And Monomoy Girl, I mean, what kind of career has she had? She's been absolutely sensational. You could make an argument she could be 14 for 14 and looking to close her career 15 for 15. Justifiably DQ'd when running the best race in the cotillion and a narrow defeat in her other loss. Has she been, though, as good as a 5-year-old overall? And does that make her better than Swiss Skydiver? I like the youngster.
I don't know if they have purposely not emptied the tank and brought her along doing just what she needs to do for this moment. They wanted to get here.
Well, the way Brad Cox's horses ran today, maybe I'm making a mistake trying to beat her, but I am a Swiss Skydiver fan. She has won me over, Greg.
Well, Monomoy Girl is a 5-year-old. She has come back a perfect 3 for 3, trying to close out her career with another championship. She's got to deal with this throwback filly who's had a campaign that we don't see anymore, crisscrossing the country, running time after time after time and beating the boys in a Classic.
I can't remember a horse covering as much ground as this horse and covering different racetrack, and she always brings her A game. Foolishly dismissed at 11-1 in the Preakness. She ran another terrific race that day. Different riders, different racetracks. Boys, girls, whatever she runs at, she always seems to deliver. She is terrific, and I like her chances in this race quite a bit. It's a heck of a matchup.
We just keep thinking every single time she lines up in that next start, there can't be anything left, right? But she just keeps delivering.
Right. I have to stop saying maybe Kenny McPeak has emptied the tank. Perhaps it'll happen, but based on what we've seen, the tank seems to get more and more filled every time she runs.
She is amazing at all the racetracks. She has run 9 different tracks this year. Can she do it one more time? It's going to be fun to watch. Robbie Alvarado will be back aboard, delivering that big performance, as we mentioned, at 11-1 in the Preakness. Meanwhile, horologist for Bill Mott. She was beat by Monomoy Girl back in the La Troyenne. Let's bring in Paul Laduca. She came out of that race sensational for Bill Mott in an impressive victory, Paul, in the Beldame.
Well, she did, Greg. I mean, I don't know if it gives a little bit more kudos to Monomoy Girl, but what I loved in the Beldame, what Junior Alvarado did, if you watch the beginning of the race, he flew out of the gate and he really pressed the pace forward. They actually went very, very fast. And she showed me a little bit more now at the age of 4 that was she able to show another gear. And what she did is she let the other horse sort of get away from her, and then after that, it was just night-night. And I'm wondering now at age 4 if she's getting better and better. She does have a race at Keeneland and was in the Raven Run. She didn't run a step. That was the first time in the Richard Baltus barn. Now the last 3 times she's been in the Bill Mott barn, and it seems like she's getting better and better. You did mention she was 4 lengths behind Monomoy Girl the last time they faced 2 starts ago, but I think Horologist is going to sit a good trip in here and is, to me, the upsetter, and I would think going to be your 3rd choice at post time.
8-1 morning line. She obviously ran a much bigger race, Andy, in that Beldame than when she faced Monomoy Girl in the La Troyenne.
I think both of us were surprised in the Beldame because she looked like she might have no horse left after chasing that runaway leader, yet she found more horse and ran. I agree with Paul. I think there are a couple of possible upsetters in here. Ollie's Candy, who's run some terrific races this year, even though she remains a bridesmaid, and Horologist as well. I might be foolish, but I'm going to try to beat Monomoy Girl, and I'm going to key Swiss Skydiver with Horologist and Ollie's Candy.
Valiance, do you give any kind of shot in this race for Pletcher?
Well, listen, she's improved dramatically. She has the win at Keeneland. I didn't particularly like her, but I won't be shocked if she runs well in here. It's 2 very good horses meeting up, but it isn't a bunch of bums behind her.
No,
There's
it's
some
not.
very good horses in this race. This is a division that's changed. It's been fluid during the year, but I think we still get a super distaff.
Yeah, we were talking about this division all year long as being the superstar division. Couldn't wait for this moment to get here. A few horses haven't performed up to that level. Of course, Midnight Bisou went to the sidelines. Still going to be a tremendous race.
Right, we lost Midnight Bisou, but I don't think we expected to have Swiss Skydiver in the mix, so we gained a very good horse. This distaff lives up to the billing. It's one of the better distaffs we've ever had.
Meanwhile, Breeders' Cup Sprint, somewhat similar situation. We lost one of the superstars in this division in Volatile, and that's how deep Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen is. You lose maybe the best sprinter in the country. You reload. Your plan B is Yalpon, who's probably, you think, going to go off favorite in this race.
And it's still not even clear he's the best 3-year-old sprinter in his barn because he's got another horse in the undercard named Nashville that might be one of the best sprinters in the country.
Who's going to be, what, 1 to 5?
You know, this Breeders' Cup Sprint is a bit of a race of attrition, and it isn't as strong as some of the Breeders' Cup Sprints we've had in the past. I think you and I agree that Yalpon will be the favorite and should be the favorite because not only is he fast enough to win it, but he looks like the controlling speed on paper. The Keeneland track was very kind to speed today, and I think that Yalpon is going to be the horse to beat, even though I'm taking a small shot to beat him.
A lot in his corner to like, including upside, too. He's lightly raced, an improving 3-year-old who looks like he's set to run the best race of his life on Saturday.
Now, that's a very good point, Greg. As opposed to the other horses, and I do like Diamond Oops a little bit in this race, I don't think those horses have real upside. Frenzy Fire, I'd love to see him do well and prove to people he's not just a Belmont horse. But at the end of the day, Yalpon is the one who could take another step forward. And controlling speed, he takes a step forward, and he'll win this race.
Joel Rosario will be aboard. Let's go to Gary Stevens right now. You brought up Diamond Oops. This horse has a win at Keeneland, graded stakes win at Keeneland his last start, Gary.
He kind of wins everywhere he goes. He's a seasoned 5-year-old gelding. He shows up every time. He wins on grass. He wins on the muddy tracks. He wins on fast race tracks. And he won at Keeneland in his last race in the Phoenix Stakes, grade 2. I like his style, and I love that he has Yalpin inside of him. Yalpin, I'm on Andy's side. I don't know if they're going to beat Yalpin or not, but Diamond Ops, I think he has the potential to be able to do it. He's a seasoned grizzly veteran that just shows up every time. He's got the right style. It doesn't matter. He can come from 6 lengths off the pace. He can come from a length off the pace. There's not a ton of speed in this race. The speed is inside of him, and I think that Florent Geroux can track Yalpin just off of the pace and maybe swoop late. Whether he gets there or not, I don't know. But he's honest. He tries every trip that he comes over, guys.
And he's coming in incredibly sharp. Mentioned that one in the Phoenix. That was obviously here at Keeneland. Very different. You talked about it, but there's usually a ton of speed in this race. We don't see that this year.
No, there really isn't a lot of speed in this race. One of the things I like about Diamond Oops, and I talked about this a little with Tiz the Law, I believe in speed figures. He has two 105 buyer speed figures. They are the fastest figures by far in this race. So somewhere in his PPs, under the right circumstances, he has run races fast enough to beat this field, and I think that's a good sign. But I do think it is up Giroux to get him more in the game. He cannot let Yalpan get an insurmountable advantage, or he simply won't catch him.
Breeders' Cup Sprint starts a pick 5 on Breeders' Cup Saturday. We're going to take a timeout. We'll be back with more coming up, including Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Rushing Fall. Can she get the extra distance for Chad Brown? 11 for 14 in her career. A former Breeders' Cup winner in the Juvenile Fillies Turf. We'll be back.
Set for the start of the Vanderbilt. And they're off. Volatile is right on the lead. Volatile with the lead as they come down for the 8th pole. Volatile in front by 2. Whitmore is down at the rail. Forense Fire and Mind Control. It's Volatile in front as they pass the 16th pole. Volatile victorious in the Vanderbilt. 1 by 2 lengths.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
Constitution is best up-and-coming sire.
He's beautiful, he's well-balanced.
He's throwing classic-type horses and horses that can go on to be stallions.
This horse has a chance to be very important.
There's really nothing not to be excited about. He's done everything right so far.
He's going to have a big career as a sire, even much better than he did it as a racehorse.
Whether it be long, short, grass, dirt, they can do it all.
He's over-delivered as much as any horse that I've seen.
He's really a dream of a stallion.
This November, the stands here won't be filled with screaming fans, but they'll still be shaking. Don't miss horse racing's ultimate international event, the Breeders' Cup World Championships from historic Keeneland. The whole world will be watching and wagering as the sport's greatest stars battle for 14 World Championship titles. So get ready for the Breeders' Cup, live November 6th and 7th.
Back at our Breeders' Cup Saturday preview show, let's talk Breeders' Cup Turf. We all know the Europeans have done, well, they've been dominant in this race over the years, with the exception of last year. That was Bricks and Mortar's year. Magical, they were thinking about retiring this mare, but she was doing so good. Aidan O'Brien and company brought her back, of course, second in this race back in 2018 against Enable. Let's bring in Paul Aduca. Paul, Magical, she's already beaten the boys in Group 1 company overseas twice this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, what you just said, she got beat by Enable in 2018, and then she lost to Enable again at Sandown in a grain wood. This is a horse that has run 12 straight grade 1. So if you want to talk about horses that dance the dance, Magical has danced every single dance. She's 12 for 26 lifetime. She's proven that she can ship over here with running a great second to Enable. And a lot of people will look at Aidan O'Brien's record coming over here in the Breeders' Cup. It's not a secret. It's not good at all. And I think it might finally end with this mare. I think she's going to be a handful, Greg. She's 19 for 26 in the exacta. I think she has the right style. And like I said, I think that race shipping over here has got to give Aidan a ton of confidence. And probably, arguably, one of the best riders in all of the world, Ryan Moore, will be aboard.
She just delivers, and she was on that soft turf last time out. That probably wasn't the best suited to her running style, but you can even make that case even more for Lord North, who was in a complete bog in his last start for John Gosden, who, of course, won this race with Enable back in 2018.
And it does seem like John Gosden's horses in general did not handle the soft turf on English Champions Day 3 weeks ago at Ascot. And there's almost no chance that a U.S. horse wins this race this year. You know, last year only Anthony Van Dyke came over, who was an okay but not a high regard horse for Aidan O'Brien. I don't want to bet Aidan O'Brien horses. They don't seem to win. Obviously, Magical is the horse to beat. And Mogul, the 3-year-old, is okay. But I like Lord North, as you mentioned, for John Gosden. I don't think he ships this horse over after running that way 3 weeks ago, unless he believes you can absolutely throw that race away. He doesn't come that often, and he's not coming here to lose. His prior efforts are all good enough. Just behind Magical went third behind Gaius in the Juddmonte. His Prince of Wales, the race we're looking at here, was devastating. Now, he's never gone the 1.5 miles, but he's gone 1.25 miles effectively over there. And once again, I don't think Gosden's coming here to ride 1.5 miles if he doesn't think he can get the distance. And I think his price will be okay. The only thing I'm confident of is that a European will win this race. They might be the trifecta, but I do like Lord North in a very competitive
We'll
race.
say this about Mogul as well. He won the Grand Prix de Paris for Aidan O'Brien, and he was going to put him in the arc if not for that incident that happened on the day of the race.
Yeah, so he's coming here as the second option. It's not a bad second option. Now, that was not that strong a Grand Prix de Paris. The horse who may be his main contender didn't really show up that day, and he'd have to improve on that effort. But listen, he's a 3-year-old. He has a right to.
Yeah, Aidan O'Brien believes he has the turn of foot to compete in a race like this. Meanwhile, Gary Stevens, United in this race last year at 51-1, just missed against Bricks and Mortar. Is this his year?
It may be his year. I know that I believe in his trainer, one of the greatest I ever rode for, Richard Mandela. I spot Richard like I do good racehorses that tout themselves in the morning. And when he's got a pep in his step, then, and I'm talking about the trainer, not the horse. When the trainer's got a pep in his step, he's doing good. He had a great workout here about 10 days ago at Santa Anita here in Southern California. And his race in the John Henry, he was lengthening. He actually thought about running this horse in the Classic, believe it or not, on the dirt. That's how well he's doing right now. I spoke with him for several minutes, but I think he's a horse that's coming into his own. Whether he can win the race or not, Andy, I think he can crack the top 3. How about that?
All right,
Gary,
so we will get a U.S.
disagreement.
horse in that top 3 trifecta.
I think Channel Maker's the most likely because I think Manny Franco will send him the lead, and maybe that'll help his chances. I do think United is a really nice horse. And listen, he gave Bricks and Mortar a real tussle in the race last year. But this is an extremely strong bunch of Europeans, and I think it's highly unlikely the U.S. horses will be particularly competitive.
Meanwhile, Tarnawa comes in extremely capable as well. Christophe Soumillon will not ride, came down with COVID. It will be Colin Keane filling in.
Well, she is a good horse, and the Aga Khan's had some success coming over for our big races. Kalanisi, or one of those horses comes to mind. She could have run the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. She's opting for this spot. This is obviously a tougher spot. She's got to stretch out to 1.5 miles, but she won easily at this distance in the Prix Vermeil, and perhaps that's one of the reasons they wanted more distance, not the shorter 1 3/16 miles against the girls.
She is 6-1 on the morning line, 7 of 13 in her career on the turf. She comes in off 3 consecutive group victories, including back-to-back Group 1s. Breeders' Cup Mile. We see in this race, it happens many, many times, there are repeat winners. If Uni is going to repeat, she's going to have to reach back and find some of that form from last year. She has not been the same this year.
No, and she's had a fabulous career for trainer Chad Brown, who has 3 in this race, but I don't think the Uni we've seen in 2020 has been as good as the one we've seen in 2019. Now, she's still been a very effective performance and got the Grade 1 win here, but she got it with a good trip and a good pace scenario. She has not run as fast. It's as simple as that, and there are other better horses. You got to admire Uni, and I won't be shocked if she proves me wrong, but I don't like her in this spot.
Apparently, though, starting to show life in the morning and working a lot better than what her recent races this year have shown.
Well, I hope she does run a better race. She's had a great career, and Chad Brown is going to be saying goodbye to 3 tremendous fillies or mares, and horses all mares now, that have had great careers for him, and Uni is one of the big 3.
Well, so you've got a couple of backup plans in this race as well. Chad Brown, as mentioned, going to send out 3 in this race. The speed of the race at Saratoga, Todd Pletcher, Halliday, they were not on the lead, and then they decided we need to change that plan, and they did get to the front, and it worked out for them second time around when they got another go. Gary Stevens, Halliday, how tough is he going to be if he's on the front end?
I think he'll be tough, but I think he's going to have a hard time of it. It's so difficult to win the Breeders' Cup Mile on the lead. I mean, I respect him. I like him. I loved his race in the 4-star Dave, but I don't think he's a lure. I don't think he's a Barathea. I may be wrong. I think he will be on the lead, but I think he's going to have an impact on the race. He's got the only other 2 speed horses are to his outside. And they can make this race messy going into the first turn. And what happens when I say that, it's a short run into the first turn. He makes the lead, put the air brakes on, and then everybody backs up in the other horse's faces, and that can change the effect of the race. Now, I don't see Luis Saez doing that with him. He's an aggressive rider, aggressive in a good way. He doesn't take anything away that comes free, and he may have a free time of it for the first half mile in the race. And if he does, watch out. I don't see that happening, though, guys.
Yeah, that race I was alluding to when they didn't go to the front, and maybe some like it, Hot Brown was just too quick that day. That was the Bernard Baruch. Changed plans in that next start in the 4-star Dave when he got a Grade 1 win.
Well, I mean, not going to lead was foolish with him, but he also had the run of the racetrack in the 4-star Dave when the inside was very good on that course. And to me, Holiday really has very little chance in this race. And I see the pace scenario a little bit differently than Gary. I think that Factor This has to go outside of him for Brad Cox, and I think those two are going to engage. Now, Factor This, to me, is the better horse of the two horses in the race. I don't like Holiday at all, but I think it's going to help the closers. And a closer like Digital Age, who of the three Chad Brown horses, is the one who drew the best post.
These last two performances, let's get back to Chad Brown. You brought up Digital Age. He has really taken a huge move forward.
You know, I had a lot of discussions with Chad Brown about this horse last year when he was sort of disappointing and losing some better races. I just feel he's been very, very unlucky in a number of his races, traffic and slow paces. And he finally got an honest pace in here, and he didn't get stuck in traffic. And lo and behold, he ran a very nice race running down Factor This. Now, I'll say Factor This might have run a better race, but Factor This is going to have to deal with Holiday in tomorrow's race. But Digital Age got it done. And the other thing about him, Invisible Spirit is sire, and this is a horse who was purchased at Tattersall. He's known as a sire of milers. There just aren't mile races, the big races for the 3-year-old, so he ended up running in all races that are much longer. I think he's finally getting to run at the right distance.
Going to have to get a little bit light. He'll have to get a trip in this race.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And we'll see if Javier Castellano can find the right route in the mile for Digital Age, coming off that win in the Grade 1 Turf Classic at Churchill Downs. Meanwhile, you have another European invader in here for Andrew Balding, who's a multiple Group 1 winner in Cameco.
Yeah, I think Cameco is absolutely the horse to beat in this race. I picked him second because I took Digital Age because I thought his price would be better, but I have no illusions. This was a super effort in the Joel Stakes. He got a very high time form rating of 131 in there, which is a superior number, the best race ever run in. And I like a horse coming off a Group 2 and being pointed towards this race. He was unlucky in the very tough Sussex back at Goodwood, where he was badly blocked in the stretch, and I think he kind of gave up in the late stages. He obviously won the Guineas to start out his 3-year-old year. Cameco comes in this race in a very strong European group, but to me is the strongest.
Dual Group 1 winner, and coming off a Group 2 win at Newmarket as well. Euros, as usual, going to be extremely tough in these turf races. Here's a look at what they've done in the Breeders' Cup Mile.
Yeah, I mean, they have done so well, and I go back to Miesk, who was such a tremendous racehorse. She'll always remain one of my favorite horses. Caracontia won from the outside post, and Kamiko's a really good horse. Siskin's okay, too, the Juddmonte runner, and, of course, they had Expert Eye, who won in 2018. I even think the 7-year-old, Save Voyage, is coming into her own at this time, and could be a bit of a long shot upsetter, his own, I should say.
Aidan O'Brien from the Railway Circus Maximus. I know he doesn't come in off his last few races, not his best.
He just seems like his form this year has tailed off. He ran that terrific race to start out at Royal Ascot, winning the Queen Anne, but each race has gotten successively worse. So you've got Aidan O'Brien, who seems to be struggling coming into these races, with a horse whose form is going off.
Breeders' Cup, Filly, and Mare Turf. We got to see quite a few of these do battle this summer at Saratoga, including Rushing Fall, who's going to try and go out a winner, coming off that Grade 1 win in the Diana, beating Mead Mary, who ran huge in that race, and of course her stablemate, Sister Charlie.
Yeah, I actually like Sister Charlie of the 3 horses coming out of this race. Now, I'm not Rushing Fall's biggest fan of her chances in this race.
I'm sorry, did you say you like Sister Charlie?
Of the 3 horses that ran this race, okay, I think she will finish the best. On the other hand, I think as a racing fan, you have to kind of root for Rushing Fall if she doesn't win to go out with a big performance. She's had such a tremendous career, always showing up. And I really believe, and I talked to Chad Brown about this quite a bit, and I'm not saying it's going to happen nor he's going to do it, but I think her best chance to win this race is to use her speed and go to the front. Don't do what she did in the Diana and allow Mean Mary to dictate. You dictate up front, and that to me would be her best chance to win.
Did Mean Mary surprise you how well she ran in this race?
Yes and no. It was a turf course that was very kind to speed at that time, and especially inside runners. So she had the run of the race that day. So I think it's not surprised her so well. She also had the runner race in the New York Handicap when she had that big win, when she was on a rail, which was very, very strong, having taken the hedges down. She's had very fortunate trips. As you know, I've been hard on Sister Charlie this year, but I thought she was against it up at Saratoga, and she didn't run badly. Now, I don't love her, but I think if anybody out of that race runs well here, I'm going to bet my money on Sister Charlie.
Look, her races this year show that she's not been the same, but again, Chad Brown has said she's kind of turned the corner in the morning. It looks like she's working again like the Sister Charlie of old, who, of course, was the 2018 female turf champ.
Ever the optimist. There are also some pretty tough Europeans in this race as well.
Yeah, well, look, we talked about Tarnawa, who is going to take on the boys in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Cayenne Pepper, she's going to have the outside post in here. She was just second to Tarnawa in a Group 3, gets away from her, and then rolls into Group 2.
And much like I was talking about with Kamiko, she comes into this race off a big win of Group 2, pointed for this race. Over the years, a lot of the horses have had big years in Europe, and they come to the Breeders' Cup almost as an afterthought. They disappoint, but it's horses like this that are pointed for this race that do so well. Now, a lot of people see post 14 and say, oh, I can't bet a horse in the outside post. But remember, the mile and 3/16, this race starts at the top of the stretch. So they've got almost a quarter mile to get themselves positioned. And she also has some speed, so she can maybe get herself forward and get a good position going that first turn.
If you can win a 5.5 furlong sprint from that post, you could probably win a mile and 3/16 from that post.
That's what I'm hoping, Greg.
Of course, well, it was technically post 13 for Golden Pal.
I didn't want to correct you. I was trying to behave today.
Yeah. Euro success in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. There's been a lot of it as well, including last year with Iridessa. Ouija board in 2004, 2006, the Great Banks Hill.
There, Ouija board in Banks Hill. There are some names on that list.
It's going to be fun. Starship Jubilee, obviously a great story. You think just overmatched on Saturday?
I think she is. But once again, Rushing Fall. I think in these Breeders' Cup races, I'm a gambler first. And I know you like to bet a few dollars as well, so you root for your money. But there's a lot of horses running that if you don't bet them, Monomoy Girl, you tip your hat if they win, and you're happy to see them do well.
Former, for those who don't know the story, $16,000 claimer won the Ballston Spa in the process, beating Sister Charlie this summer. And, of course, she beat the boys in the Woodbine Mile as well in her last start. She has been sensational as a 7-year-old mare. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk another one of those really big head-to-head matchups that everyone has their eyes on. Serengeti Empress, last year's Kentucky Oaks winner. One final ride for the Queen as she takes on Gamine.
It's a domineering display by the ultra-talented McKinsey.
McKinsey Preservationist Vito Rosso and Yoshida. McKinsey's in front. McKinsey, they've done it. McKinsey has it by 2.
It's McKinsey in a dominant performance. Pure class in the Malibu.
Need help in finalizing your picks for the next race? Check out the Trackmaster selections provided by Equibase on every U.S. thoroughbred and harness track on NYRA Bets. Use these selections to get quick expert advice from professionals in the business. Check out the thumbs up graphic next to the pick and the wager pad and scroll down for more details on the horse. Trackmaster selections available on NYRA Bets and the NYRA Bets app.
Back on our Breeders' Cup Saturday preview show. Don't forget, you can play all the action by getting signed up and started with NYRA Bet. You'll get a $25 free play upon sign up, along with up to a $200 deposit match for new members. Use the promo code CUP25 to take advantage. Go to NYRABets.com or download the NYRA Bets app. Get you all set up for success on Breeders' Cup Saturday. Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. The sensational Gamine for Bob Baffert goes head-to-head against Serengeti Empress, who is as quick and gutsy as they come. Let's take a look at Gamine and what she has accomplished so far for Bob Baffert. She has been brilliant. Her Acorn and her Test, two of the best races we've seen all year from anyone.
No question about it. The best back-to-back performances, Greg, I think we've seen all year. She was absolutely brilliant. But, and I'm not knocking her, she's very, very good. She had the run of the race, and they were relatively moderate paces, all things considered. That's not going to happen in this Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint. She's not going to be able to outrun Serengeti Empress. Now, Bob Baffert seems to feel confident that she can rate, but we've heard that song and dance from trainers before. They've got to do it in the course of running a race, and she's meeting a very tough customer, as good as she is.
She has never, Gamine, not been on the lead at the beginning of a race, and as you said it, she will not be on the lead on Saturday, because Serengeti Empress, last year's Kentucky Oaks winner for Tom Amoss, is as quick as they come. She didn't even break in the ballerina from the rail. She still got to the front.
She's unbelievable. When you compare her race in the ballerina, it's very easy to compare to Gamine because they were basically an hour apart. Now, Gamine, to be fair, ran 4/5 of a second faster, but she also went a full second slower the first quarter and 7/5 of a second slower the half, and she was doing it sort of very easily. As far as Serengeti Empress, she was being hounded every step of the way. I don't think there's anybody that thought at any point in the race she had a chance to win, even when she was winning the race. You couldn't believe she won it. This was an absolutely brilliant performance, and she backed it up when she lost by a nose to Bell's the One, when she got engaged in another 43 3/2 and still was battling it out to the wire. What happens tomorrow when she ends up cruising the lead and being in front by 3 lengths? Maybe she wants the challenge, but I think they're never going to catch her.
It seems like, and they finally found it late here in her 4-year-old campaign, 7 furlongs is no question her best distance and what she wants to do.
Well, let me ask you a question. Wouldn't you argue her second place finish last year to Kofefi in the Test is as good a race as she's ever run? Tom Amoss was faced with a situation with her, and he won the Kentucky Oaks doing it, where all the important races were at 1 1/8. They were distance races, so he was running in the right races. Listen, she finished third the Breeders' Cup Distaff last year. He didn't embarrass himself, but then as a 4-year-old, she got a chance to run in races like the ballerina, the big race out at Churchill Downs, and now in this filly and mare sprint. He's running the right races now, but he did the right thing before. She is just a tremendous racehorse. This is going to be a great race.
And he's got a rider, Tom Amoss, that he's putting back on board, who was aboard in the ballerina, who's as aggressive as they come, and he knows his job. Doesn't matter what you do, get to the front at all costs.
Luis Saez does not want to come back and have to get yelled at by Tom Amoss. I know what it feels like, Luis. Don't do it.
We all know what it feels like. It's not a fun feeling. Let's check in with Paul LaDuca on look, if Gamine, Paul, and Serengeti Empress wear each other out, who does it potentially set up for?
Well, I think it definitely sets up for the one speech. I think the horse that holds the key to this whole race is Venetian Harbor, because Andy hit the nail on the head. I don't think that Gamine's going to be able to outrun Serengeti Empress early. Now, is Gamine going to be able to get outside of Serengeti Empress, or is Venetian Harbor going to be able to trap her inside and make it more difficult? Now we're looking at a racehorse that does have a grade 2 win over the racetrack in Venetian Harbor. But when I look at these other horses in this race, you look at Speech, and Michael McCarthy has done some good things. Second behind Gamine, was awarded actually the first place money because Gamine tested positive, and has beaten Venetian Harbor at the racetrack at Keeneland when she won the Ashland. So I know the cut back in distance, and I'm hoping there's an insane pace tool and they back up. I think the sprint races did play towards speed, but I do think Speech is going to get a great trip. And Javier Castellano always finds a knack, a.k.a. Keen Ice, to stay close enough.
It's a filly in this race as well who just beat Serengeti Empress, even though she got the setup, as you talked about, coming from off the pace. Bell's the One.
Right. If you're looking for horses to upset the two favorites, I think the two horses are Speech, who Paul just touched on, but Bell's the One, who you're talking about, Greg. She beat her with a great setup, but she's done it. She's done it a couple of times. She did it once at both at Churchill Downs, but she's good. She has to get a big pace. I just don't think it's going to be that kind of situation. I think the Serengeti is going to go, and Gamine's going to come after her 3/8 to a quarter pole, and they're going to end up engaging. I don't think it's going to be a case of them battling head-to-head and setting it up for a closer, but I could be wrong.
Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, another horse for Chad Brown. Little different story here. This is a horse who has completely started to come around now as a 4-year-old off that monster effort in the Kelso, and there was a foreshadowing of that after that performance really 3 starts back when he kicked off his 2020 campaign.
Yeah, no, he ran a great race when he won at Belmont Park, and that was a super tough allowance race. And he was able to stalk. He has shown the ability to stalk. He doesn't need to lead. And with the presence of Nick's Go, who he fortunately drew outside of, he's not going to be in front in all likelihood, but he could well be sitting second. And I think that's exactly where Chad Brown would like to be. We'll see what Nick's Go does. Maybe he's much like Spun to Run last year, coming off a big win, and he wins in the Breeders' Cup Mile. But this effort by Complexity in the Kelso, the 110 buyer, I believe, is the fastest dirt figure or any figure we saw all year. Code of Honor ran his race. Complexity was just too good for him. It's 2 turns, though. He's never been successful going 2 turns. The one opportunity, he basically was eased, though, in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Connections are confident that he'll get the 2 turns, but until he does it, you don't know.
And he went, to be fair, too, he went into that Breeders' Cup Juvenile, 3rd start of his career. He's had a lot of time to mature. Would you necessarily say he's just a horse that doesn't want it, or are we going to find out on Saturday?
Well, he came out of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile with serious issues with his
Right.
feet, and he's had those issues, kept him off the track. When he's good, he's very good. When he's bad, he's very bad.
It's going to be a short price in this race.
As he should be. He should be the favorite. But this is an interesting race, because if you don't like Complexity, there are a lot of different horses you can take a look at,
including a horse who is coming out of a race on the turf. He's tackled some of the best turf horses, some of the best out on the West Coast. But the time we saw him on dirt recently, Gary Stevens, in the Pacific Classic against Maximum Security, he was a runner-up that day.
Yeah, and it's a funny story. I've had a long relationship with Sharp Samurai. I rode him back in 2018. He broke his maiden for a claiming price, $75,000 on the dirt, and he ran off the TV screen the day he did that. But he found a home on the turf. I was his main rider, and I begged Mark Glad, his trainer, to run him on the dirt. He, matter of fact, had him cross-entered in 2018 in the Del Mar Mile and the Pacific Classic, and he opted to go in the mile. I should have won the Del Mar Mile. I got interfered with, moved up to second that day, but listen, this horse, he loves the dirt. He's a warrior. He's got a good draw down on the inside. He's very tactical. He can take the lead if he needs it. He won't make the lead. He needs a horse in front of him. But he just skips over the dirt, loves it. He's got a great personality. He's a 6-year-old gelding. Again, you know, I'm kind of biased to these things. I'm giving you some inside info of I don't know if he can win it, but you're going to want to put him in your top 3 if you're betting on this race. He's just a cool dude, one of my all-time favorites, guys.
I wonder if Gary's available, because the last time this horse won, it was that man who was in the irons.
Very interesting. I'm sure Gary would like to fly out and try to ride this horse. I'm not sure it'll work out. The last time he won was 25 months ago and on the turf. It's been a long time since he won in the dirt, but I agree with Gary. If you think Complexity, or if Complexity doesn't get it done, whether you like him or not, Sharp Samurai's a player in here. A lot of them. Owendale could be a little bit of a player in this race. There are quite a few others. Mr. Freeze is one I think could run well, and I think the 3-year-old Art Correct Collector has a good shot in here.
Yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on him. He has the rail to deal with. He's probably going to be overbet in this race, would you expect?
Probably, because he has a bit of a reputation. You don't really know. They play out. I'm happy with the rail. I think it's easy for him. He just lets him sort of find his position on the inside, and he's going to have to hope that they're moving up front. And if they're moving up front and Complexity isn't able to finish it, I think he's one of the ones that can win it. I don't think he ran his race in the Preakness. He's run too many good races besides that to dismiss him off of one subpar effort.
Yeah, that was sort of the anomaly for him, because he had just been chugging along, putting up impressive performance after impressive performance. We'll see if Cut Back to the Mile makes a difference for Art Collector. This is going to be a tough test for him against older horses. Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. We're the top 3 finishers coming out of the Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint on that soft turf course. Now, that was at 6 furlongs. Imprimis Front Run the Fed ran 1-2 in that spot. They're going to meet up again. Leinster as well is in sharp form at 4-1 in the morning line. But let's start with that Kentucky Downs race and those top 3 finishers meeting up again.
Yeah, now, Imprimis is a very good horse. I don't mean this in any way to knock him, but I think if you go back and watch the entire race, and I always recommend that to people betting the races, you'll find that the best race was run by Front Run the Fed. The best ride was given to Imprimis. While Front Run the Fed was making a wide, somewhat premature 4-5 wide move, I read Ortiz and Imprimis was sort of sitting behind, biding his time in the 2-path before angling out in the stretch and just getting it done. Front Run the Fed ran the best race. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to win here, because this was 6 furlongs. Now he's got to go 5.5 short he's ever gone. But if you like Imprimis at a short price, just use Front Run the Fed at a big price.
He had a terrible end of last year, Imprimis, when he ran in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint.
Tough
He didn't
DQ.
come back until August this year, and now DQ'd, but he crossed the wire first. He's crossed the wire first each of his 2 starts this year.
It seemed like he lost his good form when he went to Royal Ascot, but he's gotten it back as a 6-year-old. He's good, Imprimis.
And as far as front run the Fed, what do you think about the 5.5 for him?
Well, that's no man's land. I have no idea. I'm never right in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I'm going to use him. I'm picking another long shot on top for Peter Miller, but I think front run the Fed will run well in here. He's got to make sure he finds some position. I'm a little worried he may be too far back.
Time to put you on the spot. Selection time.
Okay. Oh, in this race?
Yeah.
Texas Wedge. My particularly on Texas Wedge is I always lose the Breeders' Cup Sprint, turf sprint anyway, so I might as well put him on top at 30-1. I'm hoping he can stalk. I thought he actually ran pretty well in the Jaipur in that effort. Soft turf last time out. Those are all my top picks. You guys really did your homework. You got my top picks. There they are. I hope I had a top pick today. Vequist was my top pick that won today. I was brutal in all the other races. Not bad in the Juvenile Turf.
Hey, a lot of times on this weekend, you only got to be right in one race and you can make money.
I just heard from Andy Beyer, the fastest Beyer speed figure given out on today's card at Keeneland was Highly Motivated, the winner of the first race. There was the 2-year-old Breeders' Cup Juvenile late, but Highly Motivated sprinting in the first, who set a track record, got a 96 Beyer.
We could very well see that again tomorrow. That early start time with Nashville, who ran lights out, was being considered for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. They wound up taking the easier spot in the Perryville instead.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be the 4 to 5 morning line. Woe to the horses running against him, and I imagine he's prepping for the Malibu. Nashville, if you're watching the Breeders' Cup, tune into the early races. Don't miss a real star in that program.
Just saw Andy's picks. Paul LaDuca, let's take a look at yours.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, I got to reiterate, Highly Motivated, 114.99 for 6.5 furlongs. Absolutely blazing. Well, you'll see my picks when they go up right now. Andy and I are right in the middle. We've got a couple of horses. I actually like Cayenne Pepper an awful lot. I do think Diamond Oops, if he can stay within striking distance. I love Digital Age. I think Digital Age is coming into this race better than he has before. Ternawa, we talked about him. You know who I like a little bit? Alexandra. I think from way downtown. And today, guys, I mentioned this earlier on Twitter. All the races that were won today here, or excuse me, at Keeneland on Friday, every single horse besides Amy's Challenge either had their last start in New York or at Keeneland. California got shut out on Friday. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Very good chance that comes to an end on Saturday. We'll see. By the way, that Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, 2 mares who might steal the show in that race, Alexandra and Got Stormy.
I agree. Bot Stormy's really found a home sprinting. She's certainly not impossible, having won recently at Keeneland at 5.5. And I've always loved Alexandra. I think the morning line maker may have goofed, making her 12-1. She'll be shorter.
So many good matchups on this program. Gary Stevens, who are you looking forward most to seeing?
It's got to be Swiss Skydiver, Monomoy Girl. It reminds me so much of the matchup of Beholder and Songbird. Songbird being a 3-year-old, and at that time Beholder was 6, but we've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. Full respect to Swiss Skydiver and what she has been able to accomplish this year, winning the Preakness, beating Authentic, the Derby winner. It's been a crazy year. Hats off to the job that Ken McPeak has done. But listen, the reason this reminds me so much of it is the post-position draw. Beholder was drawn on the outside. I had an advantage of what I wanted to do with Songbird, and I think we've got the same thing with Florence Giroux. And Swiss Skydiver, she's got a good draw, but I'm going to give the advantage to the older mare, and no disrespect whatsoever. I just hope I see a race like that one was back in 2016, guys.
This is a program on Saturday. I can't wait. I'm going to record all these races. I'm going to watch it, obviously, all. We're going to be covering it, talking about it tomorrow. Go back and watch it all with a big box of popcorn afterwards and just rewatch all these races.
No, I agree. They're huge races, the Breeders' Cup races. They're great matchups, and they're there to be enjoyed. And I agree. Love watching them again, taking a look at the trip, seeing who you think ran better than you thought or who ran maybe worse than you thought beforehand. Always a lot to learn to be from watching races over again.
Let's look again at the Saturday schedule. It ends with the big one in the Classic. That's 5:18 Eastern Time. Kicks off with that tremendous matchup between Gamine and Serengeti Empress in the Filly and Mare Sprint.
Fireworks early.
Wow, is it going to be fun. Classic, Baffert with 3 of them. You think Tiz the Law, the 3-year-old, though, bounces back and shows runs the best race of his life on Saturday.
I really do. Now, I don't get me wrong. Improbable's the horse to beat in there. I am not against Improbable, but I think Tiz the Law can turn the tables. Can't wait for that race. Can't race for the whole day. It's a super exciting day of racing.
Going to be so much fun. Thank you for watching. We're back at 10:30 Eastern Time on Fox Sports 2. We will see you then. Enjoy your Breeders' Cup Saturday. He is the horse to beat. Part of that three-headed monster in the Classic for Bob Baffert. Improbable coming off back-to-back-to-back Grade 1 victories. Can he notch one more, or will it be the 7-year-old? Tom's d'Etat for trainer Al Stahl. It was 10 years ago. He won with blame in the Classic. Trying to do it again, Joel Rosario will ride. Tiz the Law, the Belmont Stakes winner and Travers winner. Will try and step up against older horses.
Front. This son of Danzig ranks among the world's elite sires. With Grade 1 winners on dirt and turf and star performers both at home and abroad, Warfront's success as an international super sire is unmatched. Recent stars include War of Will, a classic winner on dirt and now a Grade 1 winner on turf. Plus Halliday, winner of the Grade 1 4-star Dave Handicap at Saratoga. In the auction ring, his progeny continue to command top dollar. Warfront, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Triple Crown dreams can dawn anywhere. This one at Sequel, New York in the Hudson Valley, when Twin Creeks Racing foaled a handsome son of Constitution. Saratoga Stables chased the dream at the Fasig-Tipton New York bred yearling sale in 2018, when they outbid competitors to land Tiz the Law. And at the 152nd Belmont Stakes, it was time to test the dream.
Tiz the Law, and the New York bred is going to win New York's Belmont Stakes.
Make your dreams come true with a registered New York bred.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.